All right, guys, welcome to the Digital Barbell Podcast. Thanks so much for being here. If this is your first time finding our podcast, welcome. We put a podcast out every week. Today, we're going to be diving into 10 fitness fixes you didn't even know you need. We debated on whether it's needed or need. I think need is right, though. Like I said, if this is your first time finding us, welcome. Make sure you subscribe if you like fitness-related stuff that's more common sense than the fad-based stuff that you find on social media. If you're wondering why we're sitting in this Airstream, it's because we're living, working, and traveling in this Airstream full time, and we are in Boise, Idaho for the fall. You want to follow more along with that, check us out on our YouTube channel and subscribe on Instagram because we're always posting what we're up to on our Instagram story.
We have a sponsor today.
Oh yeah, who do we got?
Yeah. Okay. It has been a hot minute since I got some training shoes. Like a couple years since I've truly bought some new training shoes. I've been rocking some super old Nobles, and then they kind of wore out, and so I've just been going with like Reebok Classics instead, when I'm not doing anything like running or anything. So finally, I've been waiting for the right one. I'm like, what am I going to get? Gymshark and Rad, like the shoe company called R-A-D, R.A.D. just came out with like a collaboration shoe, and I got this sucker. And I'm super excited about it. I wore them for the first time.
Why don't you have them to show? This is a video podcast. Holy smokes.
I wore them for the first time yesterday to the gym. They're a hybrid training shoe, which is, perfect for me for right now.
They used to call that a cross trainer.
The type of training I'm doing where you can do you could squat in it, press in it. You can, go for a jog in it. You can...
Pickleball.
I wouldn't play pickleball. But anyway,
if you're excited, I'm excited.
I really like them. They're super comfy.
The rule around here is, though, if you get a pair of shoes, you have to get rid of a pair of shoes because we're kind of tight on storage space in here. A little bit of housekeeping really quick. Thank you guys who joined our beginner strength training program that launched in the beginning of September. We had a really good group join it, and a lot of people who are just totally new to Digital Barbell, so we're super excited about that. We went ahead and decided to leave registration open and start another group on October 6th. That's a Monday.
Yeah.
So if you want to learn more about what the program is, I'll put a link to the details and how you can sign up in the description. But this is a program for people who know they need to be strength training but don't know where to start, or people who used to work out and then have fallen out of shape and have been intimidated on where to get back in. So that's all I'll say about that. But you can do it with minimal equipment. It's only 3 days per week. And so head to the description and get the deets on it.
All right.
So we actually just recently celebrated our 6-year anniversary of doing Digital Barbell together full time as our only job, which we've owned businesses together in the past, but one of us always had something else going on. So this is the first thing we've ever done together for this long, and it's awesome. Super thankful for that. And then before that, you owned a gym and tons of experience with people coming in and out of the doors. But my point is, today's podcast is based on common advice and things that we've learned that will help a lot of people. These are common things that have come up a lot over the years, hundreds of people. And so we kind of distilled this list down from things that we talk about a lot. So we're going to dive into each one.
Common questions we get and we help our clients with over the years.
Can I just say also, I'm getting this sweet reflection off this table, and it's giving me some really nice lighting on my face. I am impressed with that. One of the things we need to get for our Airstream is a screen to cover our fan that vents through the roof.
I think it's coming from up here, actually.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
There's these top windows. We got everything closed up in here, and then somehow tons of light still coming through.
I can deal with it. I like the lighting.
Good. Yeah.
All right, do you want to go through these 10 things?
Yeah, I guess I don't understand your notes.
That's fine. That's why they're my notes. You read the topic and we'll dive in.
Is that the topic? To eat more protein, swap sources for lean? That doesn't...
So each one of these things... Oh boy.
That's not even a complete sentence.
You can tell we rehearse these a lot. So each one is written as a statement, and then we're going to tell you how to do it too. So the first one is to eat more protein, swap your protein sources for lean sources of protein. That's the tip. So we're just going under the assumption that you already know that protein is good for you. It's all over the news. You're trying to eat more protein. How are you going to eat more protein? The most simple tip we can give you is to try to focus almost all of your sources of protein on lean protein sources. What that means is almost all the calories in that thing you're eating for protein are coming from protein. Non-lean sources of protein also have protein in them, but they're getting a significant number of calories from fat. So what that does, it inflates the calorie content of their overall serving, and it diminishes the amount of protein that you're getting. This is when you choose fattier sources of protein. Right. So you had a great point about this, and a lot of these substitutions you can make to make this happen aren't even things that you're going to notice, because everybody likes the taste of a chicken thigh better than a chicken breast. Everybody likes the taste of whole milk better than skim milk. But if you're using that as an ingredient in a whole meal or one little part of a recipe, it's a swap you can make that you're not going to notice.
Yeah, if you're just eating chicken, that might be the time where you're like doing chicken thighs, or you're doing like a combo of breasts and thighs. But if you're making a recipe and chicken is included, go ahead and throw in those chicken breasts. You're going to get more protein, you're going to get less calories, and you're probably not going to notice because of all the other ingredients in there. Same thing when you're like making a smoothie, go for that like 2% or low fat milk, when you're not going to notice it as much. If you're just drinking a glass of milk, that's when you're going to notice the taste of the lower fat milks.
Well said.
So across like your whole week, there's times when you can make these like, oh, I really want the thigh because we're having just like chicken thighs on the plate, but in these recipes I'm going to go for the chicken breast.
Yeah. Okay, so here's some stats, the part of the notes that confused Blakely here.
No, I didn't know that. No, it was your title that confused me.
All right, so a chicken breast has about 185 calories, and for that you're getting 35 grams of protein. That must be the raw weight, because I know it cooks down to about 3 ounces. A chicken thigh, and this is skinless also, has 205 calories, so more than the breast, and only 28 grams of protein. What about steak? Who doesn't love a good steak? A sirloin steak, which is known to be leaner, has 210 calories and 26 grams of protein. Okay. A ribeye has 310 calories. You're still going to get 24 grams of protein, but ribeyes are loaded with fat, and so they're tagging along a bunch of extra calories that you don't need.
25 grams of fat, to be exact.
25 grams of fat, and that's saturated fat, and it's not the kind that's good for you. So eat ribeye steak at special occasions and sparingly, but not as a main source of protein.
And I'll just think about on a plate with ribeye steak, you're usually going to have probably potatoes with butter, and, things like that. So that 25 grams of fat is going to be, you're going to be getting a lot more fat in that meal.
Exactly. A couple other quick ones. Greek yogurt, the non-fat version, has 100 calories for a serving, or sometimes even less, for 18 grams of protein. I know there's some delicious fattier Greek yogurts out there, including whole milk ones, that has 220 calories, so over double, and you're only getting 16 grams of protein. Yeah. Same thing works with cottage cheese. You don't need to know the exact numbers, but the low fat and skim cottage cheese, fewer calories, more protein, and the same thing goes with milk. Yep. The hack for milk is to go for one of the ultra filtered high protein milks like Fairlife or Mootopia if you live in Texas, because they basically filter more of the fat and the lactose out of the milk over time and layer it upon itself, so you just end up with this rich high protein drink that has more of the fat and all of the sugar in the form of lactose removed. And that's what those Fairlife Core Power shakes are made out of, which is why they taste so delicious and pack so much protein. All right, the second one.
Tip 2, to drink more water, start off the day with a chug of water. So this is just a glass of water. Chug this water, and then go on to coffee or whatever it is you do.
And we're not talking about a shot of water. We're talking about a significant amount of water, between 12 and 16 ounces. When you start doing this, it's going to be a little bit uncomfortable because you're probably not used to putting that much liquid into your system all at once in the morning. You're more likely starting your day with coffee or something else like that and just kind of sipping on it. But this is going to do 2 things. Number 1, you're going to start the day off with a healthy habit, which is a win right in the beginning of the day. Much more likely to continue making healthy decisions, get that snowball rolling of I'm doing the things for myself. So that's the mental side of it. Number 2, it just increases the total amount of water that you drink for the day. Most people don't drink enough water across the course of the day, and because they're usually not starting until mid-morning after their coffee.
And
so we're just getting ahead.
You get busy, you're doing things, and if you don't want to remember, oh, it's 6 o'clock, I barely had water today. You really don't want to try to chug down, all of your water right before you go to bed. So it really does just get this big amount of water in your system before you do anything else.
You want 2 big reasons to hydrate properly. Number 1, it's a performance enhancer. Most of your muscles are made up with water. You're going to have more productive workouts. You're going to feel stronger if you're properly hydrated. And number two, guess what else has a lot of water in it? Your skin. Dealing with wrinkles, getting older, seeing a little bit of those age lines pop up. Stay hydrated.
Yep.
Drink more water. It really does make a difference. And yes, just like we're holding in our hands here, these cans of carbonated water, assuming they don't have calories in them or very few calories, do count towards your water goal. And as far as a water goal, we would recommend having somewhere around half of your body weight in ounces of water per day. So if you weigh 150 pounds, shooting for about 75 ounces of water. Drinking to thirst, not worrying about adding stuff to your water unless you just want to add calorie-free flavor to make it more appetizing to you. But you, if you're listening to this and you're not an endurance athlete living in the desert, you don't need to add salt to your water to stay hydrated.
I will say right now, we've lived more of our life in Texas than anywhere else, but we're back over here in Idaho, and it is higher elevation than Texas. I mean, not significantly from where we were living, but enough, and super dry.
It's dry.
Way less humidity than we've ever dealt with, and I am thirsty constantly, like all day. Like I cannot get enough water in my system. I feel like it's weird. I'm just like, I'm drinking this right now, and I'm actually still thirsty. I'm like, what is going on? But one thing, he said chug. It doesn't literally have to be a full chug. You can just get a glass of water and drink it as you're doing stuff. But I have been doing in the morning. I wasn't a big fan of it, so for the longest time I didn't do that.
You weren't a fan of the chug?
I wasn't a fan of the chug. I get enough water throughout the day anyway. I don't want to start my day with this. But I have been doing a full glass of water with some lemon juice and some apple cider vinegar in it, and I just really like that combination taste, and I drink a full glass of that before I drink coffee or anything else, and I really enjoy it. So just having like a little something in my water helped me get that morning water in versus like just trying to chug a glass of plain water.
I'm glad you enjoy it, and it gets you hydrated.
Yeah, every day he's like, that smells good, and I'm like,
well,
try it.
The lemon part smells good. I don't mind the smell of the lemon. All right. Third one, I'll read this one. To snack less, eat bigger meals, and drink carbonated drinks. That's a little like bonus put onto the end of that one. But the main thing is like snacking is a massive problem. Most people who struggle with their weight are way over snacking. The average American eats about 20 to 25% of their daily calories outside of their meals, just in these little bitty snacks. And the problem with snacks is they don't even like register in your brain. It's like you forget that you ate it. They don't satisfy you. They don't expand your stomach enough to cause the reactions in your stomach to tell your brain like I'm actually full. Snacks are usually more hyper palatable, meaning like you eat a little bit of a small handful of cashews out of the nut jar, you're like, ooh, that tastes good. That's got that salt on it. It's nice fat.
Right.
Or you grab a handful of like Chex Mix or whatever. The problem is like all these calories really add up. They don't satisfy you. And then when you pile on your real meals on top of it, it ends up just putting you in a calorie surplus over time, and you struggle to lose weight.
And probably the reason that you're going for the snacks or that you're hungry is that you had too small of a meal.
Or didn't have a breakfast.
Or you skipped a meal.
So this is going to kind of blow your mind, but most men to maintain their body weight need to eat between 2,000 and 3,000 calories per day, depending on how active they are, how much muscle they have. So we can just kind of look at that and be like, all right, well, if I divide that out across my meals, that gives you kind of a rough idea of about how many calories you need to eat per meal. So 600 to 800 calories per meal is not out of the question. Yeah. But I bet most men specifically are eating like a 300 calorie breakfast, and then they're snacking at work, and then they're snacking after work, and they're hungry when they get home, and they snack a little more, and then they eat dinner. So for women, we can use the same strategy. It's going to be somewhere around 500 to 700 calories per meal.
Including breakfast.
To set yourself up for success. If you're struggling with snacking, I can probably guarantee your meals are more in the 300 calorie range, which makes sense as to why you're hungry 2 hours after you eat.
Yeah.
So it's a huge strategy that can be super helpful.
It has really, really helped me. I used to be a big snacker. I would be like breakfast, snack, lunch, snack. I mean, literally 3 snacks throughout in between each meal, and we have beefed up our meals. I've actually put my breakfast in my Fitness Pal, and it comes into about 580 calories, which maybe be like, whoa. that's, that seems like, wow, when you think about it, that's a lot of calories, but that's what we're going for. And I can go from breakfast to lunch with no snacks in between.
Now, I will say the caveat to this is if you're increasing the calorie size of your meals, try to focus on whole, nutrient-dense foods that take up more room on your plate for that 500 to 700 calories or that 600 to 800, because a slice and a half of pizza has 500 calories in it, and that's not going to take up any room in your stomach, and you're still going to be full, an hour after you eat. But if you you're going to be hungry. So, eating a lean source of protein, some starchy carbs, some fruits, some vegetables, a little bit of fat on there, that's going to take up a lot of food, a lot of volume in your stomach and keep you full. So watch out for foods that have a lot of calories that are really small. That'll mess you up when you're trying to increase your calorie per meal. All right, you want to read the next one?
Sure. To feel the rows in your lats, and we're talking about like
exercise. To feel rows, not the rows.
Exercise rows in your lats, pull more towards your hips. So this is like whether, when we're doing like dumbbell rows where we're like leaning on a bench or something and doing a single arm dumbbell row. This is a bent over row where we're rowing either a barbell or 2 dumbbells. And so I like to tell clients, like, pull towards your hips, not your pits, meaning your arm, not your armpits, but more towards your hips. So when people come to us and they, they start working with us, number one, I think a lot of people haven't done rows before, so they're kind of weak at this motion, and it's really cool to watch how quickly they gain strength in this motion. And number two, if they've done them, they're pulling the row right up to their armpit, which is really just like putting this pressure on your shoulder and not working the lats. You're pulling muscles like your back, which we're really targeting in this movement, and this is where you're going to see a lot of like, strength and muscle definition develop if a row is something that you haven't done before. Like if you like see people and you're like, well, I wish I had like a big back like that kind of like teed off, like this is a V, like this is the way to get this this back shape and definition.
Working your lats.
Yeah.
Also, working your lats is a great way to improve posture. Like somebody who sits at a desk and struggles with being slumped over and has shoulder and neck pain. They probably have a weak, underdeveloped back too. The thing about like doing row, and this works for a seated cable row too. If you're sitting on one of those machines and you're pulling the handles to you, try to pull those handles towards your hips instead of up here towards your chest, because the lat, the job of the lat is to bring your arm from above you down. That's why like a straight arm pull down or a pullover works your lats, and then also to pull your arm back behind you. So try this little experiment here. Stick your arm straight out in front of you, reach your opposite arm across your body, and put your hand on your lat. Now take your hand and pull it towards your shoulder or your armpit, and you don't feel anything happen in that lat. Now put your arm straight out again, and this time we're going to pull it down and towards our hip, and boom, you feel that muscle get hard
that muscle,
immediately.
Like move, so you know you're engaging that lat. We actually should link. We have a great video that visually shows that what you just did, like how to find your pulling muscles.
Yep.
That we can link in this video.
And we talked a couple episodes about tendonitis in the elbow, tennis elbow, and golfer's elbow. And one of the ways you can overuse that tendon in your elbow is by doing rows incorrectly, where you're pulling the weight towards your shoulders or too high on your body, because you're involving the bicep too much in the row versus the bigger muscle
and
of your lat.
You're having to grip it weird because you're kind of your elbow's at a weird angle, so you're kind of it's putting probably a lot of strain like on the wrist and then the grip. One thing though, when you're talking about tendonitis, is in any movement, but in this one in particular, like a lot of people are gripping the heck out of that dumbbell or kettlebell, whatever they're rowing, and just allow yourself to like get a loose enough grip to where you're not like, putting a lot of pressure on the grip or on the elbow, which is weird. But if you really make a fist, you can feel like your elbow tense. And so a lot of times just like starting to release your grips helps people with these like tendonitis type issues, or if, once it's flared up, it's hard, but to not get it again.
Well said. All right. To feel RDLs or Romanian deadlifts more in your hamstrings, push your butt back more.
Yep, I would say this is another common thing that people, like when we see people work out for the first time. Is like
describe an RDL.
Yeah, an RDL is a deadlift where a deadlift starts like with the weight on the floor at a dead stop, and you pull it up to your hips and then back down to the floor. And RDL is the opposite. It starts with the bar like hanging from your hips. So you're going to just be standing with the weight in your hands, and you're going to push your hips back bring the bar down your legs to about the mid shin, which is pushing those hips back, is going to create a really big stretch in your hamstrings, and then you're going to bring it up to standing. So basically RDLs like starts from the hips, goes down and ends at the hips. A deadlift starts from the floor, you stand up, and then you bring it back down to the floor. That's the difference.
And as you work on pushing your butt back more, you have to resist the temptation to bend your knees also, because that will put slack in your hamstrings. So really what you're going for in a hamstring is a giant loaded stretch. You should feel like they're really, really stretching.
And the distance I said about mid shin, people have varying flexibility in their hamstrings.
And just their limb length.
Limb length and the flexibility. It's amazing to see how far some people can bring the weight down, and some, and I'm like past my knee. I'm like, oh, my hamstrings are on fire. I have very tight hamstrings. So, like
on a barbell RDL, it's not uncommon for me to actually hit the weights to the floor without trying to. I'm like, whoa, I went far on that one.
So the distance depends on your limb length and your flexibility. But if you feel like you're doing RDLs and you're not feeling them, literally push your butt back more than you think, because you're probably, if you were to watch yourself, you're probably not pushing your butt back as much as you think you are.
And if you're not even doing RDLs right now, you should. I mean, it's a great supplement for the conventional deadlift, but it's also just great for overall back health and injury prevention. If you do any kind of intramural or recreational sports as an adult, the number one thing you'll see is somebody takes off running and they tear their hamstring. Well, a stronger hamstring is less likely to tear. In an emergency, like you just have to take off.
Like a dog or a kid runs out into the road. You got to take off from that dead stop into a sprint, and that's, protect yourself in these kind of situations. Bonus on RDLs, and I think this is another comment I get a lot, is yes, it hurts your grip. If you haven't done something like this, a lot of people are like, my grip is more tired than my legs. And the grip is just like your other muscles. Like, it's going to grow the more you do things with it. So try to like endure a little bit of that grip pain, because it is going to grow just like your muscles. And, I like to tell people, like, you can, if you've done any Olympic lifting, if you've done any like power cleans or snatches, you've hopefully learned the hook grip, which is where you put your thumb down on the barbell, or you can even do this with dumbbells and then wrap your fingers around the thumb, and it hooks gives you like a little bit of a stronger grip. And so I just will do this on RDLs myself, because it just helps with the grip a little.
You have a really well worn in hook grip.
It hurts at first, just like everything, but it's like the more you do it, the more you'll be comfortable with it, the more like a little bonus grip you'll get. And again, your grip will continue to grow, just like your muscles will.
And at some point, like as your hamstrings and your back and your glutes get strong, like really strong, there's probably going to be a point where you need to start using lifting straps for RDLs.
And that's fine too. It's just like you don't want to train to use those until you absolutely need them, because you do want that grip to grow.
Exactly.
All right. I like this one. To check your form, record yourself. So if you do or don't work with a coach, and you don't like do videos a lot, it is a great idea to just like, if you're like doing squats or doing things, push-ups, and you just like don't know really like if you're doing it correctly, record yourself and give it a look, or like,
compare it to a video online of someone that you trust if you don't
barbell.
have a coach. Yeah. I mean, you might really notice something that you're like, I had no idea I was doing that, or you think you're doing something one way and you're doing it a completely different way.
Like a squat's a perfect example. Like you're even an air squat, you're doing air squats, and you're like, oh, I'm killing these. I'm doing 20 in a row, and you record yourself and you're like, whoa, I was like doing quarter squats. I wasn't even getting depth. And so it's just like adds this little bit of awareness to what you're actually doing. Just, it's kind of like weighing your food once to see how much chicken did I put on that plate.
And then, in addition to checking your form, videoing yourself is a great way to check your effort level.
Yeah.
Like, we preach all the time around here about how hard you should be pushing in your weightlifting sets. Somewhere between 1 and 3 reps before that's all you can do. You would have come to failure. So you video yourself, and you, in the moment, think, oh yeah, I was there. Like, that was really hard. And then you watch the video back, and you're like, man, that last rep I did was no slower than the 5 reps before it, so I probably could have done more.
Yeah.
So your effort in the moment will lie to you. The video won't lie. It'll show truly how hard you were working.
Yeah, great point. That's another thing that, like, when people come to us for the first time, even if they've been working out a while, they we see their effort level and we're like, oh, you're stronger than you think you are. You can do more in this. And I think in a lot of the times it surprises them.
Yeah, it's exciting.
But we can see that in the video that like, 10th rep looked the same as rep 2, and it was easy.
Yeah. All right, next one is to work your rear delts with reverse flies, bend over more, or use an incline bench. We're talking about using an incline bench to put your chest on, laying forward, and doing your reverse flies like that.
So I'd say, well, like when people come to us and they've done this movement a lot, like a lot of people have done a reverse fly, but we see a video of them. One of the most common things that we see is people are pretty much standing upright when they do these.
That's called a lateral raise.
Yeah, it is, and it is called a lateral raise, and it's going to work different. It's going to work different muscles. Like standing up straight is going to work your shoulders. Bending over is where you're going to get that extra movement in your extra strength in your back. And so like I like to call these like bent over lateral raises because it's the explanation is in that name. Bend over and then do a lateral raise. So two things are happening. You're bent over and your arms are straight in a lateral raise. So you're going to see that like there's only a slight bend in your elbow. So I think the two most common things we see is people are standing up straight and we're just bending their elbows and pulling back on that weight. And
doing like like a bat wing row, but double arm bent over bat wing row. And you might have to dial back the weight that you're using to take this advice. So if and going with the last one, video yourself. See if you start bent over and by the end of your set you're standing up. And
if by the end of your set your elbows are like bending and you're bringing that weight really close to the body.
Right. And when you start doing these right, you might need to drop the weight down a little bit, and that's completely fine. It's about getting the right stimulus on the right muscle that we're trying to use for that exercise.
I would say for women, like it's okay that these stay in the 5 to 20 pound range max. Like a woman doing 20 pound bent reverse flies, I'm always like, that's darn strong.
Let me see a video of that.
For men, like 10 to, what would you say, 30?
I have guys that can do 30, 35 pounds.
Okay. But these work like the very small muscles of your upper back and rear shoulder. Yeah. So they're not going to be like one of your heavier lifts, and like really don't get frustrated if you find yourself like staying in that 10 to 15 pound range on these, because it's better to like stay in the form. I bring these up to 20 reps with people, because I know that moving up 5 pounds in each hand on a dumbbell is going to be really hard, and they're going to be swinging it and they're not going to get much work out of it. So I'd rather do like more reps with a lighter weight with great form than like try to just like, use a heavier weight because
to swing it.
Just to swing it.
Yeah. All right. The next one is to increase mobility, work ranges of motion with weight.
Yeah.
What we're talking about here is basically like lifting weight for mobility versus static stretching for mobility.
You gave a great one when we were talking about this yesterday about the pullover. Like, give that example.
Yeah, I work with a lot of guys who say, oh, I have terrible shoulder mobility. I can barely hold my arm up over my head. And there's passive stretches you can do for that, like a down dog or a kneeling lat stretch, but nothing's going to have a more profound impact on your range of motion than working it holding a weight. So if you can't lift your arms up over your head, well, let's get a weight in your hands and do a dumbbell or a barbell pullover, and that weight is going to force you into that range of motion, help you gain that range of motion over time. That's going to be a more lasting change than just a static stretch that basically goes away when you're done. And the good thing about doing it with weight is not only do you get the mobility of that range of motion, but you're gaining strength in that range of motion and all the positions along the way too. So, I think static stretching has its place in a program, not a really big place, but don't neglect the fact that you're going to get the benefits of stretching and then some by going through range of motion with weight. It's like the RDL, I have terrible hamstring flexibility. Like I've bent over and touched my toes for a minute every day for a year, and I got a little better, and then that's basically I plateaued. All right, well, let's start doing some RDLs where we go through that range of motion with some weight.
I like this example here about a goblet squat. Like a lot of people my ankles aren't very flexible, or my hips or my knees, I don't have a lot of mobility there.
Yeah.
Doing something like a simple goblet squat where you have like a more upright chest and you're squatting into that full depth. Even it can be like you can start with 10 pounds and just build. That is going to help those ranges of motion, so much, rather than like like you were saying, like trying to stretch without a weight, and then like, you know, continuing to build up that weight as you get more flexible and as you get stronger.
Yep.
All right. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I hope we made our case with that. Like, I think most people listening to this already know that, and they're probably already doing it.
Yeah.
But they probably get questions themselves about, you know, how much stretching should I be doing outside of my workouts.
All right, go for it.
To eliminate knee pain when squatting, squat to depth. Tell us what that means.
What do we mean by squat to depth? When we say squat to depth, we mean to squat to where your hip crease is even with or just below your knee crease.
At the bottom.
So yes, at the bottom. So you can use a mirror to look at this. You can video yourself like we were talking about earlier to see if you're doing this. And if this is something where you're like skeptical, you're like, if I feel like if I squat that low, I'm going to hurt your knees. Let me explain why. If you do like a quarter squat and you're just squatting a little bit, that is really when you're going to put all this pressure on your knees. Like your knees are going to take the brunt of those like small squats.
Yeah.
Your knee is going to be responsible for making you change directions, and your knee is going to be taking a lot of your weight. If you squat to depth, if you like put a chair behind you and like squat all the way down to where your hip crease is just below your knee crease, and you try to stand back up, you're going to notice that you're using your whole posterior chain. You're using your glutes and your hamstrings, and you're going to be like using your bigger muscles, the ones that you want to work in the squat, and you're going to take that pressure off your knees. So if you have trouble with this, a couple things that you can do is to evaluate your stance. Usually everything starts with your stance. So when we squat, we want about a shoulder width stance. That means like my heels are just like under my shoulders versus like smaller, you know,
hip, not under your hips.
Yeah, not under my hips, but under my shoulders. So a little bit wider of a stance. And then the key here is we want our feet, instead of like our feet pointing straight ahead, we want to turn our toes out.
Yeah.
About 30 degrees. And what this is going to do is when you squat down, your knees are going to track out towards your toes versus going straight ahead. And you're going to have so much more room in your hips for your hips to descend.
Allowing you to hit depth. Like trying to hit full depth with a toes forward, knees forward squat, you're just going to fall over forward. I like to think about this like you got 3 joints that need to move in a squat. Your hips, your ankles, and your knees. So for whatever joint we're making do the most work is going to undergo the most amount of stress in it. Don't have a lot of control over what's going on with your ankles, but you do have a lot of control over what's going on with your hips and your knees. The biggest muscle group we have access to on our body is our butt, our glutes. So we want to make sure they're getting involved in the squat. So that's where going to depth comes into play. And that's where getting them involved with the right stance as you squat comes into play.
So one thing we do with clients is like if they're starting out and they haven't been able to squat to depth, is we start with them with a target. And so you'll put a target behind you. This can be like the bench, like the bench press bench that you have. It can be like a chair. It can be like if you have like a med ball or something like that, and you put it behind you, and you start to just do air squats to it, and you like get that confidence, and you know it's like building this muscle memory. So like you know what it feels like, and then you can try it with a goblet, you know, and then you can try it with a double dumbbell, and just start to get this confidence over time of like I know when I hit depth and I know when I don't. And then like we were talking about earlier, you know, checking in now and then and recording yourself and making sure like, okay, I've added weight. Am I still hitting depth? And making sure that you're not like moving up in weight and you know, unless all of your squats are great form and to depth.
And I would say like out of every client we've ever had, I don't think we've ever had a client that we haven't been able to get to squat well, pain-free, and to depth, even if they think they've had like bad knees in the past.
Or issues with the depth before.
Yeah. Okay. Which brings us to number 10. To get faster results, hire a coach. Like if you're working out, you're putting in the effort, you have a goal in mind, whether it's aesthetic or performance or longevity or whatever. Don't spend years guessing at what you should be doing and possibly regressing or doing nothing. You know, invest in what you say you care about. It's not a lot of money compared to what we spend. You could hire us to custom coach you, write your own program, coach you every single day that you work out for probably less than the cost of going out to eat once per week for the entire month. It would cost less than that. So,
and I would say, I'm just going to drop this in here. Don't hire AI as your coach. I have done a little bit of like testing with ChatGTP. And
I like how she calls it ChatGTP.
I don't know what it's called. It's stupid. But to say like, write me a program for this, and it will like spit out something, and you're like, oh sweet, why would I need to hire a coach? You could say that same thing tomorrow and it will give you completely something different.
So true.
And I have tested this, and it's like it could give you 5 programs in a week, like if you just ask it the same question, and then in the next hour it'll give you completely different things. So I'm like, don't trust that. It's just giving you something. It's not like a person where it's like thinking through the program, thinking how to take you through progressive overload, thinking about what you need, thinking about how much is enough volume or not enough volume, and all this stuff. It's just spitting out results that it sees. So
yeah, it's going to be interesting over the next 10 years to see what happens.
I'm not saying that for any reason of just like, oh, we don't want to like lose our job for AI, but I really don't think, because I don't think that's a thing, because I really just think it's helpful for like, hey, how do you like unlock my door or whatever, I don't know. But I think to give you like really good advice, like it's just going to pull the first, collection of stuff off the internet, and tomorrow it might pull a whole different collection of stuff off the internet. Yeah. And you're like, now you're confused. Like, well, what am I supposed to be doing,
And it's just like the lack of accountability and, like relationship. And, I guess you could have a relationship with it, but that'd be kind of scary also. Mm-hmm. All right. Hope these things help you guys get better results. If you want to get like a question in the queue for one of our Q&A episodes, I'll put a link to how you can do that below. And if you're interested in getting stronger, see if you want to jump in on the next group of Strength Made Simple that starts in October. We'd be happy to have you. It's
kind of funny when we start these, Jonathan's always like, we should close all the windows so it looks professional. So, because we're like, there's things that are outside that we can't control, like if someone walks by or whatever. And then we got this like half dog laid out right here. Like, yeah, this looks real professional. She's like pulling the blanket.
She's a professional Chewini.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, guys, we'll catch you on the next episode.